All right, so if you're watching this video, you probably already know from my earlier post, but the big announcement is that I am publishing a book. It's been 1 year! Hi, hello, my name is Amy Prokopis, and I am an author of young adult novels like the young adult science fiction novel, The Arena, which turned 1 year old this month, and the young adult fantasy romance series, Guardians of the Sixth Gate. The second book, Shade of the Shadowlands, comes out May 30th, and I am currently writing book 3. Welcome to the video, welcome back, welcome if you're brand new. That's a little bit about me. This entire video I wanted to film in honor of my 1 year of publishing. So a year ago, I published my very first book, which is The Arena. We'll talk a little bit more about The Arena in a little bit, but I wanted to use this milestone to kind of review everything that I have accomplished in this 1 year of publishing, where I plan on going from here and all of the things that I've learned along the way. So thanks for clicking on. Let's get into it. My desire to be an author started a really long time ago. I was super young, I was a kid, but I guess if you wanted to put on a date on it, I didn't fully comprehend that people wrote books and people wrote books as a job until I think I was 7 years old. That's when it dawned on me. I was reading Harry Potter at the time, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. I want to write books like this. And it dawned on me that that person, J.K. Rowling, that everyone at the time was talking about, had written that book. And that's when it kind of clicked in my head that that is a profession. They asked you all the time through grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that was what I wanted to do. And that is what my answer was and has been ever since. So from the time that I was 7, going through school, anytime we were doing career planning, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always that I wanted to be an author, and all of my planning and preparing for that was just continuing to write stories. I wrote stories all the time. I always wrote them by hand. I did that until I was in college even. I wrote all of my stories by hand, and I did write completed novels. I wrote a 6-book series that ended up being edited in college into a 4-book series. I plan on coming back to that one. But I wrote all of that throughout the time of high school. And writing was always a part of my life, my daily life even. And a lot of the people around me, like family members, didn't fully understand what that looked like. And it wasn't without trying. And being an author is not something that you just go to school and then you apply for. That's the best way to put it. It's not something that you learn how to do and then you apply for the job and then you get a steady income, like salary or something. That doesn't happen for most authors. It's all book by book, contractual. It's not a steady job, so to speak. So it's very much like the starving artist kind of idea. And while my parents and all of my other family members were really supportive of me wanting to publish a book, wanting to do the writing thing, the idea of like being an author to them was always plan B. It was always find something else to do, go to college, get a job, do all of these things, and you can always write on the side. And yes, that's true. I can always write on the side, and that is what I'm doing right now. But for me, being an author has always been plan A ever since I was super, super young. And then up until the point that I actually decided to publish. That brings us to where the journey really started in this, was when I decided to self-publish The Arena. So at the time, I was working as a German teacher at this point at and it was my very first job. Being a German teacher was my first job after I graduated from college. And during college, I had started querying, which means you basically pitch your book to an agent and hope that they accept it, and then they pitch it to the publishing house, and then the book gets published. That was what I was working on. I wanted the traditional publishing deal because at that time, self-publishing was not really seen as credible. It wasn't a credible way to do it. It wasn't like the typical author way to do things, and I wanted to be considered an author. I wanted people to take me seriously. That was something, that idea in itself, being taken seriously, was something very important to me forever. And now I've kind of thrown that aside, and you'll see that a little bit later in the story, but I wanted to be taken seriously in my efforts as being an author. And the only way to do that at that time was to get a traditional publishing deal. So I was querying all through college, and then I got this first job as a German teacher, and my time was extremely limited, which was very hard for me to accept that. I cannot go home and write every single day anymore like I used to. That was devastating in its own. And so I was feeling a lot of pressure with my breaks, like the summers off, to do the most. And so I couldn't, the project I'd been querying, it wasn't getting anything, wasn't going anywhere. And I needed a way to step away from all of that, but I still wanted to write. And the way I did that was trying something completely new. So I wrote The Arena. I'd never written a book in first person like this, and I'd never written from a girl's perspective. And so I wrote The Arena, and really I just wanted to like take on the world, which is literally what she does. I wanted to write a badass female character, and I wanted to write kind of a non-traditional male character. I wanted to write about the brainiac that was not dweebish, but was also not equipped the way the woman was and did not have the experience the way the woman was. I wanted it to be very different role-wise. And so I wrote The Arena as kind of an experiment. I didn't ever think that I would publish it, but after I finished writing it early in the summer, I decided maybe this is like a project that I continue to experiment with. And continuing an experiment for me was self-publishing. So I thought a lot of people self-publish, and then that is kind of their in to a traditional publishing deal. So that's what maybe I should do. So I decided in May, I think it was May, that I wanted to self-publish this book. And there are a lot of reasons I went ahead with this. And the biggest one was that one, like I said, my time was a lot more limited now with teaching. Teaching takes a ton of your time. You're working outside of the normal, it's not like a normal 9 to 5. You're working more like, you're not working just the hours you're scheduled. You have to work outside of those hours if you were to actually perform well in your job. And so my time was very limited. So time was super important to me, some way to utilize my time. And I wasn't getting any younger. That was a part of that time element. And I had just become a mom. So I had just become a mom, and I knew that it was really now or never. I'd been saying forever, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to be an author. And I'd been trying super hard forever and ever. And I decided, let's just try this one method and just see what comes of it. And if it fails, it fails, because I really had no expectations other than I wanted to publish a book and maybe it would help me get a publishing deal. And so I moved forward with that, and I decided in May that I'm going to publish The Arena and I'm going to self-publish it. Let's talk a little bit more about The Arena and my experience and everything I've learned through that first year of self-publishing. First and foremost, I spent way more money publishing this book than I really should have. Some of that was unavoidable. It's like startup costs in a business. There were things that I had to buy up front. It was a lot cheaper to buy ISBNs in bulk, which is what I did. So I spent a lot just to start that, but I haven't paid for those since because I still have them. I also, I think, overpaid for my editor. My editor, well, let's rephrase. I did not overpay. She is 100% worth every penny I spent on her. And it was hugely valuable, the things that I learned through the editing process with her. But considering it was my first book and it was still kind of an experiment, I should have gone for maybe a newer editor that had been a little bit cheaper, just to spread my cost more, because it's not like if this had been like my 5th or 6th book where people knew what they were expecting, knew my name, then I would have paid more money, but no one knew who the heck I was. So I should have paid for a different editor. The editor I used was like a shot in the dark. I got very lucky to get her. She helped with the UK edition of the Hunger Games, which was amazing. She helped me learn a lot. I learned a lot about my writing style, the crutch words that I use, and some strengths I didn't really know that I have. And so now I take advantage of. So I learned a lot through her. But I would have maybe spent a little bit less on an editor. I still use the same cover designer. That was hugely valuable. I think she's amazing. Her name's Lena Yang. I love her. And she's doing the cover for Shade of the Shadowlands also right now. And what else about the arena? Like I said, I just wanted to write about a badass woman, and I wanted to write about a man who admired that about her, who wasn't, I didn't want at all to even approach, I wanted to write a book where it was normal for the woman to be in charge and it not to be seen as like bitchiness or, I don't know. I wanted to write characters the way that I think that we should see them in real life. So there's a couple same-sex relationships in this book also. And I didn't want to approach it as in like, oh, this is a taboo thing. I wanted it to be like very firmly, this is just a normal thing. Nobody has a problem with it. And I did. There was a small conversation in this book about like the view of masculinity. That was really fun to write in. That was something I added after with my editor, just to strengthen a part of the book. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write about somebody that was completely taking control of their own narrative and their own view of the world and trying to create what it should be so that it's better for everybody else in the long run and also their own circumstances. And in a lot of ways, it was very fitting that my first book kind of revolved around these themes of women taking control and doing what they want. And because that's exactly what I did. I finally decided that I'm going to publish this book. I'm not going to wait for the gatekeepers to tell me yes or no. That's a lot of what traditional publishing is sometimes, is people telling you yes and no. And when you self-publish, you get to make all of the last decisions. You ask for, opinions and stuff. My editor can tell me if it sucks. My cover designer can create their own version of the cover. But in the end, I can decide if I like it or not. And I can veto anything I want and publish what I want. So I really like that. And in a lot of ways, I really felt a connection with Kenna. I admire her. I want to be Kenna Riley. Holy moly. I am still striving to be as strong as this woman and as self-assured. So that's the arena. I love this book. And I do plan to come back to this in the future. I have a plan for a book 2 revolving around another theme in this. That is the entire reason that I wrote it the way it is. I originally wrote it as a standalone, and my editor said, this piece of information is so interesting. You need to expand on it or create another book for it. And that's what I decided. I'm going to create another book for it. So there is a book 2 coming eventually. But again, this book is so heavy that when I tried to sit down and write book 2 at the time that I did, there were a lot of heavy things going on in the world and for me personally, and I had to step away to do it justice. So I do plan to come back to the arena and the world of Kenna Riley and Kieran Grace. Love them super, super much. So if you haven't read this book yet, you should. It was my very first book and it's very close to my heart. It is the reason I am where I am and have learned everything that I have along the way. So I try to grow every day, and I think I've grown with each book. So am I the same writer I was when I wrote this book? No, I don't think so. But I think I am so much better because of the experience that I had writing this book and because of the people I worked with while writing it. A year from now, I hope to have 5 books. I think I have 5. So my plan for 2023, I published The Arena a year ago, super exciting. I published Guardians of the Sixth Gate in October. Shade of the Shadowlands, book 2 in that series, comes out in May. And then I plan to release the final book in that series early in the fall. And then Winter Witches comes out in November-ish, I think. It'll be close for Christmas time. So I'm hoping in a year from now to have 5 books published and to be working on the spin-off for Guardians of the Sixth Gate. That is where I see myself in a year. I would love in a year if I'd increased my income a lot to be closer towards writing full-time, because that is the ultimate dream, is to be an author, right? That's always been plan A. I want to, that's what I want to do with most of my time. It's not just like a dream job. It's just what I want to spend most of my time doing. And most of what we do with our week is at work. And if my work could be writing my novels, I would be ecstatic. Even, I don't want to make like millions. It'd be nice to, I mean, everyone can see themselves like that, right? It would be nice to be making a lot of money, but I just want to be able to afford to do it full time. So the closer I can get to that, awesome. So I would hope in a year I'd be close to that. But mostly I'm hoping in a year that I have 5 books. In 5 years, I really hope in 5 years that I am writing full time, at least maybe part time. I've had some thoughts about maybe slowly going that way. I don't think that I could, unless something huge happened with one of my books, I don't think that I could go suddenly from working as a school counselor full-time to then writing full-time. I think I'd more realistically have to have a bridge between the two. So I could see myself maybe doing half and half. And I'm already looking at maybe that is a possibility in the future, but that is definitely right now closer to a 5-year plan. So I hope I can look back on this video on the 5th anniversary of the Arena and say that I am now writing full-time, or at least more than I am now. That's what I hope for 5 years anyway. So we'll see. Maybe I'll watch this video back and my life will look vastly different. I don't know. We'll have to see. We are back and in a new location because it was getting dark where I was filming. So I asked on my social media accounts, kind of like an ask me anything, 1-year anniversary, ask me your questions kind of deal. And I got a lot. A bunch of them were related to things that I've already covered in this video and answered, or some things that I plan to answer in future videos. So I didn't answer all of them, but I narrowed them down to, I wrote my highlights on this sticky note, so I was able to narrow them down a tad. So these are the ones that I want to answer for all of you. So the first one, and that I got a couple of times, was advice for first-time writers. I'm not sure if they meant writers or first-time self-publishing, but my advice is to give yourself some grace. You are not going to be the best right now, and that's fine. Everyone starts somewhere. You have to start somewhere. The more you do it, the more you're going to learn. Definitely hire a professional editor. Don't just ask your best friend to edit it. Ask a professional. That makes the biggest difference. So that is always my biggest tidbit to people. My biggest piece of advice, hire a professional editor, and also hire a professional cover designer. Those are 2 areas I never skimp on. Another question I got was, how long does it take me to write a book? typically I can write a book anymore in a month. I used to write one a semester because, again, I'm a school counselor, so I work in a school. So we're on like a school schedule, and it used to take me all of the fall semester to write a book and all of the spring. So I would write 2 a year. But now, after I've published, I have a better idea how I work, and I've gotten to where if I schedule out my time ahead, I can write a whole book in a month if I'm really consistent. And that is how I work now. So that's something that's different that changed this last year. As I published my first book, I fast draft, which is where I just get it all out on the page and then go from there. And usually that means it takes me a month. Another one, do you have any writing rituals? So sorry guys, we got kicked out of our room. I gotta move. Back to the video. The question was, do you have any writing rituals? And not really. I'm trying to think really hard. Do I have writing rituals? Not really. I can write pretty much anywhere, although I typically write at night. But I don't have any kind of superstitions surrounding my writing. I don't need to like eat or drink a certain food when I'm writing. Oh my gosh. Oh, I do. So I have ADD, which is attention deficit disorder, and I fidget a lot. That's something I do constantly. I've always got my hands, usually something in my hands. So when I write, do I have it over here somewhere? Maybe I didn't take it with me. Oh, it's right here. When I write, I always have a pen cap, and it's always the erasable pens. You can tell it's kind of like fallen off, but I always write with one of the pen caps from the erasable pens because they turn, I like the way they turn in my fingers. So I sit and I turn them around like this while I write, and it helps me think. Does that count as a ritual? That's about as close as I've got. Another question, do you have pen names? No. And I don't know that I'll ever use a pen name. I am planning to publish things that are a little bit different in genre. I have written a science fiction book, The Arena Science Fiction. I have written fantasy. I love fantasy. And I've written Winter Witches, which is more of a romance book, but they're all, for the most part, the same age group. I do think Winter Witches is a little more grown up, but I still think it's a young adult novel. So no, I don't think I'll ever publish under a pen name. That could change as I get older and as some of my writing changes, but I love writing for a young adult audience. And I don't think that it is too weird. Everything I want to write, I don't think it's too weird to put all of that under the same name. So no, I don't have a pen name. Amy Prokopis is my real name, and I don't plan on writing under a pen name in the future. Least favorite trope. Do I have a least favorite trope? I don't like the pregnancy trope. I don't like when a character just turns up pregnant as like a plot device, as a way to further the plot, change the plot, or make something more interesting. I think if the character gets pregnant and it doesn't make sense in the story, it's usually lazy writing. It's usually just for the sake of adding some drama. There's not usually a reason for it. So I don't like the pregnancy trope. When do you find time to write your books? Since I do work full-time, writing is not my full-time gig, but it definitely feels like it is because I try to do as much of it as I can. So I do most of my writing in the evenings after Finn goes to sleep. I do a lot of that. Alex, my husband, he works late twice a week because he does like band rehearsals. So he is out twice a week, so that makes it super easy for me to schedule some of my writing time. I do it on all the days he's gone. I also utilize the whole weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, I'm always writing. I do a lot of my social media planning on Sundays, but I utilize all of that time. So I don't typically get days off. I schedule some time off, and usually it's when our breaks happen. during the school year. That's when I'll take some more time off. But yes, I use all of my evenings. I also write best at night, so that works better for me. And I use my weekends. And the last question that I had is writer's block real? Which I thought was kind of a fun one. And it did stump me for a little bit. So is writer's block real? I don't think it's writer's block so much as it is burnout. It's super easy to get burnout, especially in kind of like a creative field. If you're doing too much of it, because it then becomes harder to come up with new ideas. Burnout is very real. Definitely think that. And I have definitely felt burnout in my day job. I feel burnout in my day job far more often than I do in my writing life, because writing is energizing for me. It's an escapism kind of thing. I love it so much. So I don't typically get writer's block in the sense of what you think as writer's block. I don't really get that. And if I do, it's because I am trying to do too many things and I need some time off. It's not that, I don't know, it's not that it's writer's block so much as I just need a break usually from everything. I need an honest vacation. That's everything. I wanted to include some questions from you guys online because I thought it would be fun just to include all of you, see what your thoughts were. And that's pretty much my entire journey. So thank you guys if you've been here from the very beginning. Thank you so much for supporting me. And if you haven't read The Arena, go read The Arena. It is amazing. Be on the lookout this next week, especially because I'm planning to run an anniversary price promotion. So you will be able to get The Arena a whole lot cheaper than normal. So super excited to share that with you, make it more available to people. And I cannot wait for another year of publishing. I can't believe it's been a whole year. Oh my gosh. I've learned so much, and I'm sure as soon as I turn this video off, I'm gonna think of other things that I've learned in my first year of publishing, but that's it. That is all, and I'm excited to celebrate my 1 year of publishing with all of you, and hope that there will be many, many more to follow. So thanks again for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're not. I post usually 3 videos a week. I do a live stream on Sundays. There's a vlog every Sunday, and also one of these sorts of videos every Wednesday. So make sure to keep up and subscribe below. Like this video if you found it was enjoyable or helpful. And then of course, follow me down below in the description box on all of my social media accounts, because I am really active there and I would love to hear and connect with you. And that is pretty much it. So thanks again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.